The evening had a strange, restless energy. Rain fell in steady sheets, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and red. Armand's jacket clung to him, damp from the sudden downpour, and he could feel the chill creeping through the car as he waited in the empty parking lot. He glanced at his phone again, checking the message one more time. It was from his friend, asking if he could drop Zara home. He had agreed, of course, without hesitation, but now that the moment had come, he realized he didn't know what to expect. Zara appeared in the glow of the streetlight, holding her scarf tightly around her neck, hair damp and sticking to her cheeks. She looked both nervous and composed at the same time, a strange mix that made Armand's heart skip. She smiled softly at him as she approached the car, and he felt a flutter in his chest that surprised him. She climbed in, shaking off the rain slightly, and the car filled with the scent of wet wool and faint perfume. The city was alive but quiet in its own rainy way. Streetlights reflected on the puddles, and headlights stretched in long beams across the wet asphalt. Traffic crawled slowly, and Armand's hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. He wasn't used to driving someone else, especially someone he barely knew, but her presence made everything feel strangely important. She wasn't talking much, just occasionally glancing out the window, her eyes tracing the patterns of rain on the glass. "Traffic is terrible," Armand said, trying to break the silence. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. Zara turned slightly, meeting his eyes for a moment before looking away. "It's fine. I like the rain," she replied quietly. Her words were soft but carried a kind of calmness that surprised him. He realized that in the middle of the chaos outside, she had a way of being peaceful, almost grounding him. They started talking in small bursts about work, the weather, little things that didn't matter much but filled the space between them. Armand noticed the way her hands moved when she spoke, small gestures that seemed delicate yet purposeful. Every laugh she gave, even the quiet ones, felt like it lingered longer than it should. It made him notice everything about her, the curve of her smile, the softness of her voice, the way she seemed to make even a simple car ride feel significant. A sudden splash from a passing car startled them both. Armand laughed lightly, and she smiled back, a fleeting look that made the moment feel intimate without a word being said. For a second, he could feel the warmth of her hand near his as she reached for the door handle instinctively, and it was enough to send a spark through him. He quickly looked forward, pretending to check the mirrors, but he knew the moment had changed something. There was a tension, soft and electric, that hung in the space between them. The car moved slowly, navigating wet streets. Armand noticed her gaze sometimes drift to him, not staring, just observing, curious. He felt the same, caught between wanting to say something and not wanting to disturb the fragile calm they shared. There was a sense of anticipation, a quiet energy that made every small movement, the blink of an eye, the tilt of her head, feel meaningful. Eventually, they passed a small cafe with lights glowing warmly through steamed-up windows. Armand pointed it out, and Zara laughed softly. "It looks cozy," she said. He nodded, smiling, though the thought of stopping didn't cross his mind. He wanted the moment to continue, the drive, the quiet connection, the feeling of being near her without needing to speak. As they approached her neighborhood, the rain lessened, leaving a gentle drizzle. The streets glimmered in the light of lamps, and houses glowed softly behind rain-speckled windows. Armand slowed the car, taking in the scene. It was quiet here, safe. Zara glanced at him again, her expression thoughtful. "You didn't have to do this," she said, her voice lighter, filled with genuine appreciation. Armand shook his head, trying to sound casual. "I wanted to. It's nice to talk to you." The words felt heavier than he intended, carrying the weight of something unspoken between them. She smiled, softly, in a way that made him realize he would remember this moment for a long time. He watched her get out of the car, the scarf slipping slightly from her shoulder, her hair damp against her face. He wanted to say more, wanted to tell her how the drive had been the most unexpected, pleasant part of his day, but he held back. Some feelings couldn't be spoken yet. The sound of her footsteps on the wet pavement echoed in his mind even after she disappeared behind the gate of her home. Armand stayed a few moments longer, letting the engine tick over, watching the warm light from her doorway. There was a shift, subtle yet undeniable, in the air between them. Something had changed. This was no longer just a casual drive. There was a quiet connection, a spark, a moment that could grow into something neither of them fully understood yet. The car pulled away slowly, and Armand felt the weight of the evening pressing on him. The mist rose from the streets, softening the city lights, and he realized he could still feel her presence as though she were sitting beside him. Every little thing she had done, her laugh, her glance, the way she adjusted her scarf, played in his mind like a slow, beautiful melody. He wondered about the next time they might meet, what words would be said, and whether the tension, the connection, could be felt again. Tonight had shifted something in him. He wasn't sure what it was yet, but he knew it mattered. It was the kind of night that left a mark, small but deep, and he wanted to hold on to it. The rain had stopped almost completely by now, leaving the streets slick and shiny. Armand drove through the quiet city, thinking about Zara, her calm, her presence, and how unexpectedly she had entered his day. He realized that something delicate had begun, something that might grow into trust, into friendship, or maybe something more. But for now, it was just this: the small, quiet connection, the lingering warmth of shared moments, and the subtle pull of curiosity. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. Even as he turned the corner, leaving her street behind, Armand felt the echo of her presence in the car. The night had changed him. He knew that something was waiting for the next encounter, something that could not be ignored. A question hung silently in the air. Would the next moment together deepen this unexpected bond, or would it reveal truths they hadn't anticipated? The thought left him both anxious and excited, a mix of emotions he could not untangle. The next day felt heavy in a different way. Armand couldn't shake the memory of last night, the rain, the way Zara's eyes had met his, the warmth in her quiet smile. Every time he closed his eyes, he could see her stepping out of the car, scarf slipping slightly, hair wet and falling around her cheeks. It had been just a short ride, nothing extraordinary to anyone else, but to him, it was a moment that had shifted something deep inside. He found himself checking his phone repeatedly, half expecting a message from her, though he knew it was unlikely. She wasn't the type to text unnecessarily. But still, he wondered if she remembered the drive as vividly as he did. He felt a strange mix of anticipation and nervousness, like waiting for a story to unfold that he couldn't yet read. By evening, the rain had returned. It wasn't heavy this time, just a gentle drizzle that tapped softly against the car windows. Armand was heading out again, errands to run, but a small voice inside him urged, almost teasingly, that maybe, just maybe, their paths would cross again. He shook his head at the thought, laughing quietly to himself. He didn't even know what he expected, but the pull of her memory was undeniable. Later, his friend called him. "Hey Armin, Zara's heading out. You don't mind, right?" The simple question made his heart skip. He could almost hear her laughter through the phone, and without thinking, he agreed. "Sure, I'll meet her at the corner." Minutes later, he was parked nearby, heart pounding. And then he saw her, Zara, walking with a small umbrella, glancing around nervously as she searched for him. She smiled when she spotted the car, that same quiet, captivating smile, and it made something in him relax and tense at the same time. She got in, shaking the water from her umbrella, and he noticed the faint scent of her perfume mingling with the fresh rain. This time, the conversation flowed more naturally. They spoke about books, music, favorite places in the city, small things that revealed more than either of them expected. Armand found himself laughing, genuinely, at her witty observations. She had a way of speaking that was light and playful, yet thoughtful, and she listened. She didn't just hear his words, she heard him. There was a moment when she glanced at him, her eyes holding a look that lingered too long to be casual. Armand caught himself staring back, but quickly focused on the road. That small exchange, brief as it was, carried a weight that neither of them admitted. The car moved through empty streets, rain misting the streetlights. Zara leaned back, glancing out the window, lost in thought. "Do you like nights like this?" she asked softly, almost to herself. Armand thought about the past 24 hours, the way the rain seemed to follow them, the quiet intimacy of the drives. "I think I do," he admitted. "When they feel like this, it's hard not to." She smiled, a soft curve of her lips that made his chest tighten. "It's strange," she said. "I never imagined a car ride could feel like this. Peaceful, comfortable, safe." Armand realized he felt the same. There was a connection here, fragile but undeniable. A trust forming in tiny, silent ways. The way she relaxed beside him, the way their small gestures synced without effort, the way words could linger between them with meaning. When they reached a quiet street near her home, he slowed the car again. She didn't move immediately. Instead, she looked at him with a mix of gratitude and something else, something he couldn't name. It made his throat dry. "Thanks again," she said quietly, "for coming." He nodded, trying to sound casual. I like this. I mean, driving you, talking to you. It's different." The words came out awkwardly, but she understood. Her smile deepened, and for a moment the rain outside seemed to stop, leaving only the soft hum of the city and the warmth between them. As she opened the door to step out, he wanted to say more, wanted to ask her to wait, to stay a little longer, but he didn't. Instead, he let her go, watching her walk through the misty evening, umbrella shielding her from the drizzle. He noticed how she paused for a moment to look back, almost like she wanted him to notice her, before disappearing toward her building. Armand stayed in the car longer than necessary, the engine ticking softly. He could still feel the warmth of her presence, like she had left a faint imprint in the seat beside him. The rain had made everything surreal, almost dreamlike, and he realized that tonight, like the night before, something had shifted, something delicate yet powerful. He drove away slowly, mind racing with thoughts of her. He wondered about the next time he would see her, what they would talk about, and if the tension, the connection, would grow stronger. The quiet anticipation made his chest ache in a good way, the kind of ache that made you wish time could pause. And as he parked back home, he caught himself smiling at the thought that maybe, just maybe, these small drives, these fleeting moments, were leading to something more, something neither of them had expected, yet both had silently begun to hope for. The rain continued to fall softly outside, and Armin realized that even in a city of thousands, in a night filled with ordinary moments, a single person could change everything. That night, he drove not just through streets, but through feelings he hadn't named, emotions he hadn't fully understood, and a quiet longing that whispered of possibilities yet to come. Even as he turned the key and the car engine went silent, he felt her there, in his mind, in the rain, in the soft glow of the streetlights. And he knew, without question, that the next encounter, the next conversation, would matter even more. A question lingered in the air, unspoken but undeniable. Would this connection grow, or would it remain a fleeting memory, beautiful but unreachable? He didn't have an answer, but for the first time in a long time, he wanted to find out. The weekend arrived quietly, but for Armin, it carried a restless energy. He couldn't stop thinking about Zara, the way she had smiled at him over the past 2 days, the gentle warmth in her voice, and the quiet moments that lingered longer than they should. Every time he imagined seeing her again, his chest tightened with anticipation. He decided to take a walk through the city streets in the late afternoon. The rain had cleared, leaving puddles that reflected the orange glow of streetlights. As he passed familiar corners, he kept replaying their conversations in his mind, The way her laughter had sounded, the slight tilt of her head when she was thinking, the subtle curiosity in her eyes. It was strange how someone he barely knew could already feel so close. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message from his friend popped up. "Zara's free this evening. Can you pick her up?" Armand's heart leapt. Without overthinking, he typed a quick reply. "I'll be there." By 7 o'clock, he was parked outside her building. The city was alive with evening lights, but around her neighborhood, there was a calmness, a sense of stillness that made everything feel intimate. He saw her coming down the steps, umbrella in hand, looking as composed and serene as ever. She spotted him, smiled softly, and walked over. The smile made him forget everything else, the rain, the streets, even time itself. This drive felt different from the others. They didn't rush into small talk. Instead, they let the silence settle comfortably around them, broken only by occasional comments about the music playing softly in the background. Armand noticed how natural it felt to have her in the car, how her presence made even the mundane moments, like waiting at a red light, feel significant. She laughed suddenly at something on the radio, a short, genuine laugh that seemed to echo in the quiet car. Armand glanced at her, catching her eyes in the rearview mirror, and felt a small jolt of awareness, as if this brief connection could grow into something more. "Do you come here often?" Zara asked suddenly, her voice soft, curious. Armand chuckled. "Not really, but I guess I'm learning the city better now." He caught the playful hint in her tone, the subtle teasing, and he smiled. "Maybe you'll have to give me a tour sometime." She tilted her head slightly, considering, and then smiled. "Maybe I will, but only if you promise not to get lost." The conversation shifted naturally, from jokes to shared thoughts about dreams, books, and favorite places in the city. Armand found himself opening up in ways he hadn't expected. He spoke about the little things he loved, the small dreams he had tucked away, and she listened, not just politely, but attentively. It was as if she wanted to understand him, not judge him. At one point, they passed a park, the streetlights casting a soft glow over the wet grass. Zara leaned closer, peering out the window. "It's beautiful here," she whispered. Armand felt a strange pull, a need to say something more, to tell her how the city had felt alive with her presence. But he didn't. He let the moment exist, fragile and perfect, between them. Traffic slowed again near her neighborhood, and Armand felt a quiet hesitation. He didn't want this drive to end. There was a rhythm to their time together, a flow, that made the car feel like a small world of their own. He realized that he had been waiting for this, for these small, fleeting moments that carried a weight far beyond their length. When they arrived, Zara didn't move immediately. She turned to him, her eyes soft, and for a moment, the world outside the car seemed to vanish. "Thank you," she said quietly, almost as if she were trying to capture something she couldn't name. Armin nodded, heart pounding. It's really nothing. I enjoy this," he said, his words awkward but sincere. She smiled, a quiet, gentle curve of her lips that made his chest ache. "I enjoy it too," she admitted softly. The rain earlier in the day had left a light mist in the streets, and the air smelled fresh, clean, and alive. It felt like the night itself was holding its breath for them. As she stepped out, her umbrella folded neatly, she paused for a moment to look back at him. That small, lingering glance made his heart tighten. He wanted to reach out, to call her back, to stay in the moment just a little longer, but he didn't. Instead, he watched her walk toward her door, each step echoing softly in the quiet street. Armin stayed in the car, letting the engine tick over as he breathed in the calm night. He thought about her, about how something so simple, just a drive, a shared moment, could leave such a deep mark. There was an unspoken understanding now, a connection neither had named but both felt. When he finally drove away, the streetlights reflected in the wet pavement like tiny stars guiding him home. His mind replayed every detail, the tilt of her head, the soft curve of her smile, the way her laughter had echoed in the car. He realized that this was more than attraction. It was a slow, growing awareness that someone could change the rhythm of your days without even trying. By the time he parked at home, the night had grown quieter, the city still glowing softly in the distance. Armand sat in the car for a few extra minutes, savoring the lingering warmth of her presence, thinking about how unexpected this connection had been. There was excitement, yes, but also a calmness, a sense that something meaningful was quietly beginning. The question remained, unspoken. Would these drives continue to draw them closer, or would reality eventually intrude? The uncertainty was thrilling, almost unbearable, and yet he welcomed it. Something was happening, something delicate and rare, and he wanted to see it through, to explore it, to understand it. Even as he turned the key and the engine went silent, the feeling lingered. The connection between them was growing, quiet but undeniable. The city was large, and life was full of ordinary moments. But tonight, like the nights before, he had felt something extraordinary, something that could shape the days to come in ways he hadn't imagined. The night ended, but the anticipation did not. He knew that the next meeting would matter even more. A subtle, unspoken pull remained, like a thread waiting to be followed, guiding him towards something he could not yet see, but already wanted desperately. The following week moved in a blur of ordinary days, but for Armand, each moment carried the memory of Zara. Her laughter, her soft glance, the quiet way she made the simplest drives feel unforgettable. It lingered in his mind like a gentle melody he couldn't shake. Work, errands, even the city's noise seemed muted compared to the memory of her presence. One evening, his phone buzzed with a message. "Can you pick me up tonight?" It was short, simple, but it made his heart leap. He smiled, typing back, "Of course, I'll be there soon." The anticipation made every step toward his car feel like a heartbeat in fast forward. By the time he arrived, the streets were slick from a light drizzle. He saw her waiting under a streetlight, her scarf pulled tight, umbrella in hand, looking both calm and nervous. She smiled when she spotted him, and that single curve of her lips sent a warmth through him that nothing else could. This drive felt different. They didn't rush into small talk. Instead, there was a quiet rhythm between them, the car becoming their little world. Music played softly, and the conversation drifted naturally from books to dreams, from silly jokes to meaningful thoughts. Armand realized he had started noticing the little details about her, the way her eyes lit up when she laughed, the soft tilt of her head when she was listening, the subtle warmth in her voice. They passed through quiet streets, the city lights reflecting in puddles, creating a soft, dreamlike glow. Zara glanced at him, eyes curious. "Do you ever feel like some nights are made for certain people?" she asked softly. Armand's chest tightened. "Yes," he said, almost without thinking. "Sometimes it feels like a few moments are meant to happen, no matter what else is going on." Her smile deepened, gentle and knowing, and for a moment silence filled the car, a comfortable, shared silence. Armand felt the connection between them strengthen, subtle but undeniable. It was no longer just a casual drive. Something had begun, delicate and fragile, but real. At a stoplight, Zara's hand brushed his briefly as she reached for the door. The accidental touch lingered longer than necessary, and they both felt it. Armand's heart raced, yet he didn't pull away. The moment was brief, but it carried the weight of unspoken feelings. They reached a quiet park along the way, the streetlights casting soft shadows. Zara leaned back, looking out the window, and Armand watched her, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over him. "It's beautiful here," she murmured. The simplicity of her words, her quiet wonder, made the night feel alive. Armand nodded, glancing at her profile. "I think it's better with you here." The words slipped out before he could stop them, and he immediately felt a rush of nervousness. Zara turned her head, eyes wide, a gentle smile forming. I feel the same, she whispered. It was soft, almost fragile, but filled with meaning. In that instant, the connection between them deepened, a quiet understanding passing in their shared gaze. When they finally reached her building, neither wanted to break the moment. She stepped out slowly, folding her umbrella, and paused to look back at him. The street was misty, and the lights reflected in the wet pavement like tiny stars. Her glance lingered, hesitant yet inviting, and Armand's heart ached to reach for her, to bridge the small distance between them. Instead, he stayed in the car, watching her walk toward her door. The quiet night held them in a fragile, suspended moment, one neither wanted to end. Even as she disappeared inside, the warmth of her presence lingered, wrapping around him like a soft echo. Driving home, Armand realized how much the anticipation, the connection, and even the silence between them had grown. This wasn't just about a ride anymore. It was about understanding, noticing, and caring. Every word, every glance, every small gesture carried meaning, and it was building into something neither of them could ignore. That night, lying awake, Armand replayed every second. The way her hair had fallen across her cheek, the quiet way she had said his name, the small touch of her hand. He understood now that what had started as simple drives had evolved into something deeper, something emotional and real. But with that realization came a question that lingered in his mind. Would Zara feel the same in moments away from him, or was this connection limited to the quiet, shared space of the car? The thought left him both nervous and hopeful, a mix of emotions that he didn't want to let go. He knew the next encounter would be crucial. Something unspoken hung between them, fragile yet persistent, and he couldn't ignore the feeling that this was leading somewhere significant, something that might change both their lives. Even as the city slept under the misty drizzle, Armand felt the pull of the next moment, the next shared glance, the next conversation, the next drive. He didn't know what would happen, but he wanted to find out. A quiet tension settled over him, gentle but impossible to ignore, leaving one thought echoing in his mind. Tonight had been perfect, yet it had only raised more questions. And now, he was desperate to know how Zara truly felt. The city felt different that evening, quieter somehow, as if it were holding its breath. Armand's heart raced as he drove, anticipation twisting in his chest. Tonight felt like it mattered more than the previous drives. It was no longer just about dropping Zara home. It was about everything unsaid between them, the invisible thread that had been growing stronger with each ride. He arrived at her building, and there she was, standing under the soft glow of a streetlight. The drizzle made her scarf cling slightly to her shoulders, and her hair sparkled faintly from the lingering rain. When she saw him, her smile was warmer than before, a small spark of familiarity and comfort that made his chest ache. "Ready?" he asked, voice steadier than he felt. She nodded, stepping into the car with a quiet grace. As soon as the door closed, the world outside seemed to shrink. The soft hum of the engine, the gentle patter of rain, and the glow of streetlights created a cocoon around them. It was intimate, yet natural, the kind of space where words could matter more than actions. The conversation flowed easily, laughter mingling with thoughtful pauses. They spoke of dreams, of little moments that had shaped them, of hopes for the future. Armand realized he was sharing pieces of himself he hadn't told anyone, and she was listening, genuinely, fully present. Each smile, each glance, each quiet sigh carried meaning. At a stoplight, she looked at him and asked softly, "Do you think some connections are meant to happen?" Armand felt his throat tighten. He didn't hesitate. "I think so, and I think ours is one of them," he said, his voice low, sincere. Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. The car felt smaller, warmer, the space between them charged with something neither could deny. She reached for her scarf, adjusting it, but her fingers brushed against his arm. The touch was fleeting, but deliberate enough to make his heart jump. They drove through the quiet streets, the misty lights reflecting in puddles, creating a dreamlike scene. For the first time, Armin felt completely at ease with someone, yet completely alive with excitement. The connection that had been growing subtly over the past days now felt undeniable. When they reached a park along the way, he pulled the car to a stop. The city's hum faded behind them. He turned to her, words caught in his throat. "Zara, I need to say something," he started, nervous but determined. She looked at him, curiosity soft in her eyes. "What is it?" I felt something these past few days. Every time I see you, every time we talk, every drive, it's different. I can't stop thinking about you," he admitted. The words trembled, honest and raw. Zara's gaze softened, a small, genuine smile spreading across her face. "Armin, I feel the same. Every ride, every moment. It's like you've become part of my day, part of me. And I didn't expect it, but I can't ignore it either." Relief, warmth, and something sweeter, joy, flooded through him. The car, the rain, the streets, they all seemed to pause as their shared understanding became real. It wasn't just a quiet connection anymore. It was acknowledgement, mutual, heartfelt, and undeniable. The night deepened around them, and Armand reached over, taking her hand gently in his. It was a simple gesture, but it carried everything words couldn't fully express: trust, care, and a promise of something more. She didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed his hand softly, her eyes shining in the dim light. For a moment, the city and the rain didn't matter. All that existed was the warmth of their hands, the quiet understanding between them, and the sense that something beautiful was beginning. Neither needed to rush, nor did they need more words. They had arrived at a place of mutual feeling, a space where hearts could finally speak. Eventually, he drove her home. As she stepped out, she looked back at him one last time, her smile tender and filled with promise. "Thank you for everything," she whispered. Armand nodded, unable to speak. His heart was full, yet he knew this was just the beginning. "See you soon," he finally said, a small smile breaking through. As he drove away, the city lights reflected in the wet streets, creating a path that seemed endless. The anticipation of the next moment together, the next shared laugh, the next quiet drive, filled him with a warmth he couldn't contain. That night, he realized something important. Life had a way of surprising you, of turning simple acts, a drive, a conversation, a shared moment, into something extraordinary. And sometimes, the smallest gestures could lead to the deepest connections. For Armand and Zara, the drives had started as a simple favor, but they had grown into something far more significant, something emotional, tender, and real. And as he looked forward to the days ahead, he knew this was just the beginning of a story that neither of them would forget. The rain had stopped, but the night still held its quiet magic, and so did the unspoken promise between them, a promise of moments, of laughter, and of hearts slowly, inevitably finding their place together. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, Armand felt hope, joy, and a deep, quiet certainty that some connections were meant to last.